Hi, Stephanie and Andy here with the Blended Family Experience. New week, new video. And today, Andy is in the hot seat. He's going to share a little bit of his story with us today.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. So let's get right into it.
Okay.
You know, I may look over every now and then. I just have a little bit of notes, but that's okay. Just
Keep
trying
you-
to,
keep
keep
you
me on
organized.
track. So, just start out. You know, I was raised in a family of 5. I was the youngest. I stayed in the same house for 18 years of my life, unlike you, where you moved around a lot, right? And if you hear the dogs in the background, I apologize. They're going to be running around maybe. But anyway, so same house, went to Catholic grade school for 8 years of my life, made some great friends. And then when I graduated high school, I moved to a high school where I didn't move. I went to a high school where my friends didn't come along, my good friends. We all broke up and went to different schools. So that was kind of a bit of a change for me, you know, going to high school. I didn't really know many people. There may have been a couple people that I knew, but, you know, it was difficult. That was my first kind of difficult time, I think. Around that same time, my mom was diagnosed with depression, and she was in and out of the hospital, so she was at home often. And that had a big impact on me. At the same time, my dad really helped take care of me, or I took care of myself a lot, you know. And I think what I saw is like my dad stood by my mom during that time, and I thought that was extremely commendable. He really stuck to that in sickness and in health kind of mantra. Graduated high school early, actually. You know, that was one of the things that we had in common.
Right. Yeah, I didn't talk about that.
Yeah, we both happened to graduate school early. I just wanted to get out.
Same here.
And you did too.
Yeah.
You think you went right to college. I
Yeah.
worked and, you know,
Yeah.
had fun for a little while, and then started junior college. And I moved out of my house, lived with my sister for a while. We lived in the city of Chicago, bounced around to a bunch of different places while I was going to college. Went to film school. So I was an artist, and my parents really supported that. So that was really cool. And during that time, it's tough. Actually, when I moved to the city, I really, you know, my sister wasn't around a lot 'cause she was with her boyfriend, and really, like, it was the first time I was by myself often, and really, like, the city can be a very lonely place. I kind of discovered that. That's interesting. This is a little side note.
I think it would have been intimidating, but that would have, I don't know,
Yeah.
I would have been intimidated.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where I started, actually, where I started to get into kind of unique looking girls and stuff like that. And actually, I think that's probably, you know, where they had tattoos and colored hair and stuff like that. And so I think that's where, like, my true self was, you know. I really think that's where I was supposed to be. And now I am. Thank God. In college, I met my previous wife. I was 20 years old, really young. And just, you know, as I was kind of getting comfortable in my own skin and stuff like that. So, you know, I thought that was the right thing to do, meet somebody and, you know, live together. Graduated college, moved to the suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio for a while, and for a couple of years, and then started my career and stuff and traveled a lot. That was really hard on her. And I think that kind of started a lot of the, you know, tension that we had in our relationship. We moved back to Chicago and then got married and settled down, and that's really when things kind of started getting a lot more volatile in our relationship. But you know, we persisted, and we came to that point where we were trying to have kids.
Right.
And it wasn't easy.
How old were you when you were trying to have kids?
I think I was 27 years old.
Okay.
We got married when I was 25.
Okay. Yeah, because we talked about that a little bit last week about age and
Yeah, I
being
think.
young.
Well, 27. I think you're 27 years old and
Mhm.
you can't have kids.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
Yeah.
It's hard on me and hard on my ex-wife especially.
Right. We haven't talked about that yet though. You just said you tried to have kids. You started trying to have kids.
Yeah, we just started to try to have kids and it
Mhm.
wasn't working.
Yeah.
And if you have to go through these steps before you actually go through infertility, that you have to be trying for a year. So then at 27 and a half or 28, we're doing infertility treatments, we're doing shots, and then finally we moved to in vitro. And at 29 we finally had success after many trying times. And that emotional roller coaster, I kind of became numb to the whole fact of that. And that's not right at 29 to feel that way.
Do you feel like it took some of the sparkle out of having kids at first?
Totally did.
Yeah.
Because I think when you're young, you're trying everything to not have kids, right?
Mm.
There's something about that, and then all of a sudden you try and you can't. It's a little off-putting, and I kind of probably got jaded, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted kids at that time. If it's gonna be like this, that's not somewhere where I wanted to be. But we had kids. We had 2 beautiful boys at 29 years old. I did, and moved from the city into the suburbs and started our life here. I commuted back and forth to the city and traveled a lot for my job, and that created some volatile situations between her and I.
Mm-hmm. You want to talk about what you mean by volatile?
Just lots of fighting and mental games, and things would get physical at times, and just traditional abuse, quite frankly.
That's an interesting phrase, traditional abuse.
Oh.
Is how
I don't know.
because for you to say that, I think that's poignant, because that was your normal at the time. Would you say that was your normal at the time? Because to say it's traditional, that's not necessarily what I would perceive it as.
I mean, it was abusive, like arguments often, same argument over and over again, just putting me down. And then it was me defending myself constantly. And so I felt like I was always defending myself.
Right.
And that was hard on me and her, and it just wasn't good. And so I left my company in the city and found a job closer to home, really close, 5 minutes, thinking, hey, this is going to help take that time away, and so I'm more present and stuff. But it was hard for me to even be present. I realized probably at the time that commute home and back was my decompression time.
Yeah.
And so I think what happened is, by me moving closer, is I didn't have that anymore. So I would come home with the stress of my day, coupled with whatever she was dealing with from her work from home job and the kids, and it just created more tension and a mess. So instead of what I thought might have been a good thing, wasn't.
Right.
It made it worse. And so we just, over time, it got worse, and to the point where, a few years ago, near the end of our relationship, I discovered she had a drinking problem and is an alcoholic. And that was kind of like one of those things I denied,
So
kept denying.
Was it more of a realization than a discovery then, do you think?
Yeah, it was a realization. Okay. Because because we met each other when we were young. That's what we knew. We knew it was a party lifestyle, and even the friends that we had, it was always centered around drinking and alcohol and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't think anything of it until after a while. Every time I would come home, there would be wine out, and she'd be half in the bag, So that was like, wait a minute here, this isn't right. And then I started reading, and I was like, wow. And I confronted her about it, and I confronted her about it with her parents. I remember on one trip in Florida, and that was tough. And so things went on for a little while longer, and in that time frame, any abuse where it went over the top, where it was like a all-out fight, I started calling the police. And so I never pressed charges, though. I just wanted that to stop. And
and now you're talking about like physical abuse and stuff.
Yeah, physical, mental, yeah, all of it.
Okay.
Yelling, pushing, shoving, threatening, that sort of stuff. I know it's like it's silly. I say traditional abuse, but yeah,
Right.
When you talk about an abusive relationship, whether you're a woman or a man, it's what it is. It's frightening. It's you just have this sick feeling all the time and waiting for the other shoe to drop and for that to happen, where we started sleeping in separate beds and stuff, and I'd be like huddled up in the separate bedroom worried that she's going to come in and start something with me, and that just shook me to my core.
Right.
And I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't know, this isn't something that I witnessed from my family or anybody around me. I kind of just stuck to what I knew from my father. Just wait it out. It's got in sickness and in health. That's kind of where I was at with that.
Right.
And so, finally, she went into detox and then rehab, and multiple times in and out, and there was infidelity involved and all that sort of stuff. And I started slowly making little steps in my brain. So I started looking for an apartment. I put my, not smart, but I made a profile on OkCupid that I never really checked. But it was a little, like these little pointing my feet in this direction. Like, I can't do this anymore kind of thing. So it was whatever I could do or whatever I thought was right at the time. And then, finally I moved out, and things continued to get worse in and out of rehab. It was a great place where I could take the boys, my apartment, and we could hang out. They still have fond memories of that place, which is fun. And, too many stints. I remember I went to Colorado with the boys, and we went on a trip with my brother and his family. And I said, if I come back and she's not sober anymore, I'm done. And sure enough, I came back. That was the case. And I remember the day that I just decided this was over with, I actually went to the store, and I traded in my minivan and bought a Jeep Wrangler. And it was kind of like my symbol of like freedom, like I'm making these steps. And then not long after I did that, she was in a long rehab program, and I met somebody at a party, which was awesome because it took that that thing where it's like, can I be with somebody else? Does anyone find me attractive? I know this is not like the smartest thing to do, but it's like was just affirmation that I needed. And I think that's what people look for.
And probably coming off of an abusive relationship too. It's a hard place to find yourself.
And she happened to have been in an abusive relationship too, so I think it was a really good person to connect with at the time. Around that same time, where I was stretching out, reaching out, and staying in my apartment, taking care of the boys, working and meeting people, and kind of realizing that I'm moving on and that I'm made that decision. She checked herself out of rehab because she saw that. She knew that because I was distant from her. And she came home early, and that was the time where I was done. And that time, the moment she was abusive towards me, the cops were here, and I pressed charges that time, and that was it. I was done.
And you've told me before that was one of the hardest things you've ever done.
It was, absolutely. There's nothing more difficult in life than having to press charges on somebody that you care about. But I felt like it was the only thing to help make it stop.
Right.
At least for me. That's where I was at. So then working through the divorce there, and like her not being able to see the kids, and like trying to figure out and navigate my own life at that point. I was online one night, I think it was in October around Halloween, and that's when I met Stephanie online. And we started talking that night, I think, on the phone, did we, or the next day?
I think maybe the next day. I don't remember. You have a better memory about that stuff
I don't
than
know.
I do. I feel terrible.
I wanted to
think
talk right away.
I think maybe the next day.
It was probably the next day.
The next day.
She responded to a silly
Yeah, I didn't have enough time to do my research. So.
message. Yeah, she didn't. Yeah. But so she responded to me, and I had tried to reach out to other people, and you know what? I probably shouldn't have been doing any of that. I should have been working on myself, but I don't regret it at all.
I hope not.
I don't regret it at all.
Because we're here now.
Yeah, we are. No, I don't. Obviously, we're here now, and we're talking about this sort of stuff right now, so I've had a chance to work through it. But in Stephanie, I knew I had met somebody I could talk to openly and honestly, and that she had children, and so that made it easy. And I think we just talked a lot, and you're like, I don't really like talking on the phone, and I was like, okay, but I really like talking on the phone.
We spent hours on the phone some nights. Yeah.
And finally we met in person, like
Pretty quickly,
November
yeah.
2nd, I think. I was pushing for it. And when I saw her in the Jewel parking lot, I just saw something in her, like a twinkle in her eye, and this aura and this personality that, well, I just wanted to know more. And I was excited about. So that's where we're at. And any other questions that you have for me?
I don't think so. I think that's kind of where we wanted to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah? You think that's good?
Yeah.
Maybe write some things down.
Yeah, I'll write some things down. Probably, I think I'm going to talk a little bit about in my writing my part in the whole falling apart of things, because it's important to recognize your part, even in a relationship like that. And there's a lot of things around codependency that we don't realize until, or I didn't realize until later on when I started working on myself. So I'm just grateful to have found Stephanie, that she's been understanding enough and through a lot of the things that she's seen, and it's pretty good now. I think things are getting a lot better. So from that story to now, it's night and day.
Definitely.
Right now.
I agree. Yeah.
So it's from the way I feel about coming home to, it takes time, but hang in there. That's all I can say to anyone who's in my situation. Man, woman, hang in there.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to write a little bit about myself, probably a little more focused on career and stuff in that part of that. So, but thanks for watching.
Right. And then next time we'll probably talk about kind of what it was like coming together and bringing our lives together and our families together and kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Cool.
And stay tuned because we're going to have some cool interviews and stuff like that with some other people. This is not just going to be about us. The kids have also asked about being involved.
Right.
I know at least one of them
wants to get in front of the camera.
He wants to get in front of the camera.
He wants to be on YouTube. So.
Yeah. So this is just the beginning. We hope you get to know us a little bit better so then you can understand our perspectives on things, our story. And hope you guys like to share too.
Please do.
Please share your own stories if you're up for it. We'd love to hear, and maybe we can interview you sometime. All right.
That's it. Okay.
Thanks for watching.
Thank
Bye.
you. See you later. Bye.
Bye.